Welcome everybody officially. This is Eretmis Cybersecurity Chat or Eretmis Cyber Chat. We do this every Friday evening, 7 to 8 and 9, 8-ish to 9. And for the next maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we are bringing back our students who are working now in the industry to come and share the experience with us, right? And we started with Sheila, and then Dennis came through, and today we are grateful to have Isaac, and Isaac is going to share his story today. Can everybody hear me really well? I think my mic is really high up. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Hey, you good, so, Professor? Hey, you good?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Marcus. And Isaac will be sharing his experience with us. Isaac started like most of you on here, also curious about cybersecurity and trying to get into the industry. And now he's in the industry working, so he's going to share his experience with everybody, right? So I'm just going to wait for us to hit 30, and then we are going to, start to let Isaac share his story. And then I'm kind of going to be guiding him a little bit here and there with questions. And then as we go through, Isaac will now, have the floor to talk about what he's doing now on the job and stuff like that. I think we are just 3 shy, but we are just going to go ahead. Okay, Isaac, so welcome once again. And Isaac, from the little that I've known, not little, I've known Isaac for a little bit, I think from what, June last year or July? Yeah, about, okay. So I remember very well, first time Isaac called me and he was interested in the course. I remember where I was, I was driving exactly where I was, so, and then we talked much about this, and he said he's been always interested in IT, if I can recall, and he's been doing little things here and there by himself, just trying to play with stuff and figure stuff out. But now he wants to really make it a career, right? That is the conversation Isaac had with me, and wanted to know much more about the course. I don't really know where Isaac got to, get our number or even got to know about the course, but I'll start asking him all that for him to tell everybody, for everybody to know Isaac started from scratch, just like everybody else. It's not like, he's somebody who was already working in the industry, right? So, and Isaac is very, very dedicated, very smart, puts in the work. So you don't necessarily have to be smart, but you have to be dedicated and put in the work, right? If you put in the work, you become smart, right? So put in the work, be dedicated, and I think you'll be able to do what Isaac has done, and most of the students on here have done, right? So just, if you are dedicated and you don't give up, you keep pushing, you're gonna get there. So I'm gonna leave it to Isaac to introduce himself, and then, we'll start asking him questions and start picking his brain on what he's done so far and his entire journey. So Isaac, the floor is yours. You can introduce yourself real quick, and then we will get into the questions, and other people can also start chiming in.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Adu. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to everyone on here. I know we're from different time zones. As Dr. Adu has introduced me, my name is Isaac Katumba. I am originally from Uganda. Right now I'm in the state of Massachusetts. And how I got to know, let me first jump to how I got to know Dr. Adu. I got to know him through my brother, who is his brother in arms, a veteran just like him, who is part of the organization, the ADDI. As so very many things were connecting them. African sons, both in the army and both part of the ADDI. So that's how I got to know about Eretmis Academy and Dr. Adu and every wonderful thing that he had to present to the Africans. So a little bit about my background, education-wise, and my love for IT. and how I pivoted into this. At university, I applied for 2 courses, information technology being one, and my second choice was business administration. But with the quota system, it seems the numbers for IT filled up before they could get to me. So they gave me my second choice, which was business administration. But I promised myself that one day I will pivot back and do something IT related, because I've always had a passion for that. So from then on, I started kind of like a shadow school in my head. I became self-taught. Everything that I knew about IT, I was self-taught. Up until a few months during COVID hit, everything happened. You know what happened? Everything was like upside down. I did CCNA. I did the certificate, I passed it, but I was like, cybersecurity is more of my thing, not networking. That's when I got in touch with Dr. Adu. And the rest is what we're going to be talking about for the next 2 hours or so.
All right. Like what I want to say is we are grateful for you to even accept this invitation to share your experience with us. And our first would like, so you said you have a degree in business, right? And like for the time that you've been in the States, like what have you been doing? Like what is your, like what was your background in terms of work? Like what have you done so far?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's like my degree didn't help that much, if I may say, because I couldn't get a job like in the financial services, despite having my bachelor's in business administration. So I ended up working for, this is incidentally like the 2 previous guests that you had on, Sheila and Bernice, who came from the healthcare kind of like industry. I also happen to have come from healthcare industry. Actually, when I talked with Sheila, we had so much in common. I was working for a company, a healthcare managed behavioral health organization that dealt with different insurance companies, including the one that Sheila was working for. So when I mentioned the company, Sheila actually was like, oh, I know Beacon, I know the company. So I also come from the healthcare kind of like background, but the insurance side of it.
Okay, so you were doing insurance, you were in health, and so when did you start this course?
I started in the year of COVID last year in October. 3 months before September, if I may say. Where does that land us here? Because it took me, I gave myself a timeline. I gave myself a time of exactly 4 months. I gave it my all. I studied. I went for my for the certificate, for the exam, and I passed. I gave myself 4 months. So October, moving back.
Okay, so like throughout your like entire time of studying and stuff, like I mean, you were not really used to cybersecurity or IT in general. Like, how did you do it? You know, because there's gonna be ups and downs. Like, can you walk us through like the entire process? I mean, you gave yourself time, you had a goal, but then studying wasn't that easy. And in terms of support, did you feel like you got enough support from us and also for the exam? And then we will transition into finding a job. So if you can talk a little bit about the course, with people who are also in the course who can like relate.
Absolutely. So as I said, I was self-taught, so I had never gotten any formal training in anything IT related, zero. And of course, cybersecurity, no. I just had a love for it, a passion for it. I knew it is something that I wanted to do, but I had actually not taken the step to do it. So until last year, when I decided, let me actually start studying about cybersecurity, and that's when I joined Eretmis Academy. And the content that you gave me is actually what I started with. It's like taking my baby steps in this journey, the content that you provided, on the website. And I love the way the lectures were structured, short minutes, very easy to digest, if I may say, and baby steps all the way to intermediate and then advanced. And then the hands-on approach also was really nice. But as I said, it all takes dedication and perseverance, because it's not easy. But you were definitely on the call anytime, literally any time of the day, even after midnight. If I remember when I was downloading, I was trying to set up my VM, the virtual box, and I had some issues. So I was like, it's too late, it's past midnight. I sent you a text, and immediately you jumped on, and you're like, all right, I'll walk you through. It's a little bit tricky with the MacBook, but you were there, and you continue to be, and to provide all the support and guidance. So for that, I'm really grateful. And I've heard from the previous guests, they've also mentioned the same thing, and that is something that is really good. Thank you.
All right, Isaac. So after completing the course, you went through everything, you did the hands-on training, and then preparing for the exam. On the exam, what you were studying and what you encountered on the exam, was it something that, were you well equipped for the exam?
Yes. So the course, so I did the introductory course, which is free on eretmisacademy.com, and it gave me a good insight about what the full course entails. And that's when I signed on. I was like, this is it. This is something good. And so ultimately, the course content is so well-rounded, and I wasn't caught off guard when I went to do the exam eventually. Because by the time you do the course from lecture 1 all the way to exam preparation, you are definitely ready. So the course takes you through all the right steps until that point when you are definitely ready to take the exam. So no surprises on the exam in that regard. The course content is definitely enough. I cannot stop anyone who would want to do extra research, maybe watch some YouTube videos, grab a book here and there. There is actually a book that you suggested, Gibson, I think it's Gibson.
Yep.
So other resources definitely can supplement, but this should be the main one, and it suffices. It's enough.
So now let's get into finding the job, the tricky part.
Oh yeah.
So you are done. You have the certification, and then we have a job placement assistant also for you. So how did we help you in terms of finding a job?
Yeah, so by the time I did my exam, the job assistance program wasn't yet posted on eretmisacademy.com. So we were mostly talking over the phone and communicating via chat in regards to helping me find a job. Prior to that, let me first take you back a little bit. Before even getting to that, I remember you asked me, do you have a resume? Or if you don't, we can definitely help you write one. I was like, well, I have one, but I don't think it's written to the proper standard for cybersecurity. For someone who's looking for a job in cybersecurity, it was kind of like general, the kind of resume you just throw anywhere. So I remember I sent you that resume, and you basically just took out the biodata from that and just threw away the rest. Everything was like useless, if I may say. But you gave me a very good resume, and that's the one that I just kept kind of like custom making, depending on the kind of job that I was looking for. But Oh, that was a roller coaster. That was a really roller coaster getting the job. Studying and passing the exam is one thing, and then trying to find a job is another job. Because I remember you telling us, this is your job. Finding a job is your job until you find a job. And I was like, okay, let's take it to heart and look for a job like it's a job. It's definitely not easy. It wasn't an easy process. So many applications, very few responses from recruiters and hiring managers. But you keep the fight. You keep pushing forward until you get that one job. Someone takes a chance on you.
So how
So
many
if you want to ask me,
applications did you do? Like roughly, can you like let's just talk about like the ones that you have. So in general, just tell us like roughly how many applications did you do a day, a week, and how many responses did you get? So in terms of like percentages, maybe I did 100, I got 20% back, and then maybe out of the 20, maybe 5% interviews. Like, can you walk us through that too?
So yeah, I made it a point to try and follow your guidelines in the job preparedness lectures, and honestly, I was doing an average of 20 or 25 single-click applications on Indeed and Glassdoor and Monster Jobs.
So what do you mean by single-click applications?
Now, I got like my resume and uploaded it to these 3 different platforms. So I would see a job and feel like it fits my bill, and I would just click apply. It just goes. It's kind of like not tailor-made, and in most cases it doesn't have a cover letter accompanying it, because these are things like you do on the move. Maybe you're driving, you're in traffic, and just see this pop come up, for a job, and just boop, click apply. So for those, I did about 20 to 25 a day. And then there are others that would pop up, and I'm like, if I really got this job, it would be such a blessing. So I give it extra attention. I save it for later. I get home, and then I tweak my resume I do what they call resume stuffing. I try to put in the keywords, in the job description, and I made sure that I accompanied such resumes, such applications with a cover letter, always, to show that I actually put in the time and effort to read through this job description and to apply for it. So total overall, I did about 250 applications. And out of those, a huge percentage of them never got back to me. And then let's say 50% never got back to me. Just, let's say the other 20% maybe go back to me after a long time, and they'll be like, oh, sorry, we after scrutinizing and looking through the different applications, we decided to go with someone else, but we have your resume on file. We might consider you in the future. Most of them did say that. And then a good percentage of them, actually, I went up to the 3rd interview.
So when you say 3rd interview, it means you did 3 interviews. Like they actually called you, you did 1 interview, they passed you on to the 2nd, and then they passed you on to the 3rd interview.
And to the 3rd, yeah, mostly up to the hiring manager or the hiring manager and like a panel, different people. Okay. So yeah, a couple of those I really got to, and when you get that first one, when you get to the 3rd or 4th stage, you really feel like this is it, I have it, and then it just goes. It's quite disheartening, but as I said, you just have to keep the faith and keep fighting. You're like, okay, that's gone. That wasn't meant to be mine. Mine is out there. You wait, another one calls you up. You get to get in front of a panel and you state your case. But I think sometimes I think sometimes I would make a mistake of overselling myself or applying for the wrong kind of jobs. And I remember actually there was a time when I reached out to you. Actually, you reached out to me. You were like, you were among the top 4 people that really give me sleepless nights. I don't know why you don't have a job yet. And then we had to go back to the drawing board and see where we could be making a mistake, where we can do better in the application process. And we did that. I told you the kind of like jobs that I've been applying for. And of course, you had been helping me with the interview preparations for the different jobs that I had lined up. So I didn't go into them blindly. I had your guidance and support, prior to. But yeah, eventually someone took a chance on me. But I must say, it's not an easy process. It's not meant to be easy. No one promised that it would be easy finding a job, but eventually you do get through.
So if you can walk us through the current job that you have right now, the interview processes that you went through. Since, I mean, we are narrowing in because that was the one that was successful, right? So what was the first interview, second, third, if you can describe what went into it too for us?
Yeah, so just to take you back a little bit, just a little bit on the previous interviews that I had made. So for those interviews where I made it to the hiring manager and the interview panel, but it didn't fall through, I would go back. I actually kept the job descriptions for these different jobs, and then I'd go back and see what they were looking for, and then maybe try to see where I fell short. Try to find a reason why didn't they hire me if I had come up to this stage. So I looked at the different programs that they were. Let me not say programs, like the different software tools that they were looking for someone to have competence in, and there was kind of like there was a resemblance depending on the kind of like the kind of organization. Most of them were healthcare companies for some reason, either MSSPs providing security for different hospitals, or maybe providing for financial companies. So I used that information to kind of like better myself and to tailor make my my resume even more to stand out. So for this current this current job that I'm with, different applications, of course, we just keep throwing in there. And then one day a recruiter reaches out to me. I saw this job, I apply for it. A recruiter reaches out to me and she's like, "Hey, is this Isaac?" I'm like, "Yep." Like, "Well, I saw your resume on Indeed. Are you still interested in that job that you applied for?" I'm like, "Okay, so which job?" Because I had applied to so many jobs, I had no idea which one she was talking about. So when she mentioned it, I pulled over, I looked it up, and I was like, yeah, I'm still interested in that job. She's like, "Okay, so what's the minimum?" First of all, she asked me, it was kind of like a disqualifying question. She asked me, this job offers this much and it's located in this particular state. Is that too far away for you? And is that money enough for you to take or no? So that I don't waste your time and you don't waste my time. I told her to up it a little bit, just by $2, you know, just by $2. I really didn't have to negotiate, but I just felt like, why not? And I remember Sheila mentioned it one time when they offered her her hourly rate, and she was blown away, but she still decided, let me say something, maybe. And it paid off, they always do. They always do. So she told me, all right, if you don't mind, I'll check your details and push them over to the hiring manager and tell them that you're ready and this is what you're asking for. See if they're willing to actually bite or not. 2 days later, she calls me back. She's like, all right, they accepted and they want to have an interview with you via Zoom, of course. It was like, when are you free to do that? I was like, in 3 days. I also gave them 3 days so that I can get back in touch with you to tell you this is the job that I got, and let's go through the ritual of preparing for the interview. So I met with the hiring manager and two other people who turned out actually they are colleagues. No, one is a colleague of mine, and the other is the compliance manager. So the compliance manager, the IT manager, and a cybersecurity analyst. So they asked me all these questions. Now, at this point, I had kind of like become very comfortable answering different questions, and because I had been there, I had been disappointed. I was like, maybe this is one of them that don't call me back, but I just gave it my all. And they're like, all right. So they called me back 2 days later, and they made an offer. So you can ask me some questions, maybe what happened in the interview, or we can move on.
Yeah. So during the interview, what happened, and also to be more specific, what were some of the questions that they asked you that you think the course prepared you well for, right? And in terms of, you're talking about the tools, so maybe probably anybody who didn't get that aspect. Okay, yeah, somebody also want to know what are some of the questions that they asked you, right? So for some of the job titles and for specific industries, they might probably be looking for similar tools for those job titles. So that was what Isaac was talking about, right? So maybe if you go to an interview, information security analyst in maybe like hospital B, and then there's another one, hospital A, 9 out of 10, they are using similar tools, right? So he just did his homework and made sure, okay, these people are looking for these type of tools, so I'm gonna polish myself up on it. But I want you to first speak a little bit more about the tools. How well did the hands-on training prepare you for, such like a position, and also like what were they looking for in terms of tools, and what were some of the questions that they asked also? So there's like 5 questions in one.
Okay, let me try to see if I can remember all of them at the end. Okay, I'll start with some of the tools, because these kind of like cut across different enterprises. So some of the tools that they asked about, actually, most of them were covered in the course. And it is something that I have to actually emphasize to anyone who is planning on taking the course or currently taking the course. Pay strict attention and give strict emphasis to the hands-on sections, where Dr. Adu introduces the different tools like Nessus, Nikto, the pen test tools, Kali Linux. That is also very good to know. That is very good knowledge to have, because that shows that you can at least configure virtual, you understand the concept of virtualization. And also Qualys, Splunk. So many organizations use Splunk. As I mentioned last time, we are currently moving on from Splunk to QRadar at this particular organization. But actually, that's one aspect that I mentioned during the interview that kind of like gave me an edge, because they asked me, now when I come to answering the question about what kind of questions they asked me what security tools am I confident in using? Am I comfortable using? So I mentioned that I've used Qualys, Kali Linux. I've played around with the Metasploitable, those pen testing tools, Parrot OS, and all that. So when I mentioned Nessus and Splunk, I told them that I'm doing Splunk. I know Splunk, but right now I'm self-teaching myself QRadar. And the compliance manager came in and said, oh, that is good, because we're actually currently moving on from Splunk to QRadar. So if you're coming on with that knowledge, it's something that we can use. And did I have that knowledge like 50%? No. But at least the fact that I mentioned that I know about QRadar, I know what QRadar is, what it does in the cybersecurity universe. They were like, oh, okay, you know, I stood out. I stood out in that. Another question that they asked, this company is so big on, well, not only this company, different companies. They are so big on teamwork and how you can manage your time, given that you might have different projects to work on with different timelines, and you have to work in a team. That's a question that was kind of like overlapping almost every other question in one shape or form. Are you a team player? How do you work well? How do you work in a team? How do you work under pressure? Because cybersecurity is all about working as a team, and also it's cross-departmental. You're the cybersecurity person for the organization. So you find yourself, you have to deal with accounts, with HR, with IT, you know, with production. Everyone needs cybersecurity in one way or another. So if you're not a team kind of like a team player, that's not a good thing. Another question that they asked me regarded working long hours, unexpectedly long hours, which is not something that is happening, but they want to know that you are flexible and ready, because you're a cybersecurity analyst, you're part of the SOC team. The bad guys don't sleep, they don't take a day off. So God forbid, if there is a breach and you're called upon, you have to show up, you know, and respond to that incident. So they ask so many soft questions, honestly. A little bit on the soft skills questions, a little bit on the technical side, but most of them, the biggest number of questions focused on the soft skills.
Okay, so what were some of or the most difficult soft skills questions that they asked in your opinion?
No, I didn't find any difficult soft skill question, because it's the usual, honestly. They just reword. There are so many. There's only there is a limit to the number of soft skill questions that you can ask someone in an interview. It's just the way they ask them that kind of like changes. But ultimately, if you think about the question and you think before you speak, the answers are almost always the same.
And what about the technical side? What were some of the questions they asked on the technical side?
So mostly they asked me about the software tools that I've used before, ones that I'm comfortable with, and also the other thing I told them about QRadar, that I know a little bit about it, but I put in a cautious remark. I told them, but I am easily trainable and I am willing to learn new technologies as needed by the organization and any situation. And that's when my current manager was like, that's it. That's what we want. Because if we can train you, that's okay. We shall train you. Cybersecurity is an ever-evolving field. If you're trainable and you're willing to learn, we shall train you. That we can do. But what we cannot do is to teach you how to be a team player. So if you're not a team player, if you're not a loyal kind of like team player, then we cannot deal with you, you know? So it's like, with these hard skills, we can teach you, but soft skills, we can't teach you and we can't take you on. So he liked the fact that I'm open to learn more about the new stuff, because no one expects you to know everything that they are currently using as their platforms. But if you're willing to learn, then that's a plus.
Okay. And aside the tools? Like, what were some of the other technical questions that they asked?
So there was a question that they asked me. It concerned, it was bearing around incident response. So they put me in a situation. It was a hypothetical. You're in an organization, and there has been a major breach, and it's still on the in-house. No one outside the organization knows about it. So they asked me, who are the people that you have to call first in the boardroom to break the news to them if you're the incident response manager? So who do you want on the team to tell the news? So I had to think back to the incident response plan. And so I told them, if it's a big organization and there is a lot of PHI involved, definitely you need the PR department to be involved. They have to be the face of the company. They're like, okay. And I'm like, if it definitely involves like depending on the jurisdiction and the magnitude of the breach, then maybe you have to call in law enforcement, FBI, and they're like, okay. And then of course the CISO has to be there, the part of the in-house people, the CISO or the CSO, whatever the title might be, before actually the news gets out there. They're like, all right, okay, you know. And also I told them about the fact that if it's depending on the size of the organization, if it's a global organization, and maybe there's some GDPR issues, then that changes how, you know, the expanse of how you have to, who you have to involve in the response plan. Because if there are any EU citizens involved, there are different rules governing that. They're like, okay. You know, that was just a hypothetical situation that they threw at me, a curveball. I didn't see it coming.
And I think there was a comment here for more technical questions. So if you can give us at least one more, and then we're going to move on to, you know, what you're doing right now on the job.
Yeah. The other technical question that they asked, let me see. I had actually put it in.
Did they ask about risk management, anything on those lines?
Actually, speaking of which, I just looked here at my resume and I saw they asked me about third-party vendor, vendor risk management.
Risk management.
They asked me about that. How would you be certain, and how would you confirm that your third-party vendors are in, what's the word?
Compliance.
Exactly, in compliance with the different frameworks, you know, because you might have all these security platforms protecting your organization, but if there is a third-party vendor involved, then how do you guard against kind of like a breach coming from that different attack vector? And so that's when I responded to that. I brought up the SOC 2 report, because that is something that actually we had actually discussed during the internship program, how to deal with third-party vendors. That information was still fresh in my mind. Even right now, I can't remember the answer that I gave them, but then it was fresh, because we were right off the internship program. So yeah, I answered. The answer was right there. I'm sorry, I can't remember the exact answer how I responded, but the question surrounded that third-party vendor risk management.
Okay, so the internship did help.
It did absolutely, and also the internship helped on different levels. The teamwork. Apologies to my team, I didn't kind of like go through the entire process to the end, but definitely the teamwork, coordination, time management, and also dealing with people is not easy. And with all these jobs that we are asking for and we are getting and that we intend to get, we have to deal with people. It is not yet time for machines to completely take over. We still have to deal with people. So the internship definitely did help. Also having the knowledge, being exposed to the knowledge of different frameworks, the CIS frameworks, the NIST, and these are things that you study and read and you're like, but I'm not gonna need this. But trust me, it comes back and you draw back on that knowledge, that acquired knowledge. It stays with you, it stays with you.
Okay. So I think we've had enough of the technical side. And also the internship, probably we didn't talk more about it. For our students, we do internship for our students when they are done as well. So that is what Isaac is talking about. And we go over a lot of stuff that you might encounter on the job. There's a question, how did you convince them you are a team player? That is somebody's question they put in there.
Yeah, so that is a good question. Now, I of course drew back on my background, on the different jobs that the other insurance job that I was doing prior to COVID. COVID wiped away that one, by the way. So I told them about that because first I was part of a big team, the member service team. And then after a year, I applied from within and moved on to the internal audit side. So I was the internal audit coordinator for the company. And so audit coordinator, definitely I am coordinating with the different departments in the group, in the company, member services, the claims department, the provider relations. To be able to coordinate those different departments, you definitely get skills of being a team player. So that is the scenario that I gave them. Always draw on your best, on your strong moments, and paint a picture of yourself. And also the other thing is, they could ask one question, and in my answer, I kind of like answer 3 of their follow-up questions. And then you see them flipping through their pages like, okay, that's all I had. Maybe Rich has other questions for you, So that was a good feeling. That was a good feeling when I see them flipping through their questions and like, I've gotten you. I've answered 3 of your follow-up questions.
Great. And as we're moving along, if you have a question, you can put it in the chat. We're going to open the floor for people to ask their questions as well. But if you have one, you can put in and I'll ask as we're moving along. So walk us through, you've done your last interview, you had an offer. So getting an offer, signing it and starting work, what is the process like?
So when they sent me the offer, they asked me to sign it, to fill out the paperwork. Everything was done online, unlike back in the day when you had to go into HR and they give you a bunch of papers to fill out, the W-2 and all that. Everything happened online, digital signature, and just push it through as quickly as possible because they needed someone immediately. So they were like, the quicker you do this, the moment your background check clears, you start working. We can wait for the other things to clear, but as long as your background check clears, you're good to go. And that was it. Within the next few days, I reported to the job. I reported, they made a tag, a key tag for me. And my current manager, they took me around, did a facilities tour. So as Dr. Ado mentioned in the introduction, the company that I work for is a medical device company. So there are different sections. Cybersecurity is just part of the information security team. Another floor, there is research and development. Another floor is manufacturing. And then another floor is just the scientists who are designing different medications for different diseases. So he took me kind of like around to see where everything happens, where everyone sits, the CISO, everyone. Though most of the IT team is working remotely. It started during COVID, but they have not yet forced anyone to get back into office. So once that was done, took me to my cubicle and introduced me to the rest of the team that is local. Others are in Europe and on the West Coast in California. And then handed me over my machine and was like, okay, this is it. Because they threw me straight in the deep end. Start swimming, you know? Because, you tell them, I've done this, I know this. They're like, all right, kind of like show us what you know. You go into the service tickets and you start working them. You start working them, that's it, deep end.
All right, so from what you just said, and previously you were talking about during your interview, they said you told them, hey, I know these tools, but I'm very trainable. So even with the ones that I don't know, and they were like, okay, that's it. We want somebody who is trainable. But then now you're telling us you got in there, you just hit the highway, no like mopeds or no bicycles allowed, just, hit the ground doing 70. So how do we reconcile the two? Because people think, just get a certification, get in there, they're going to train you. But from what you're saying, they expected you to know certain stuff.
They expected me, yes, to know certain stuff because I told them I knew certain stuff. So for example, Splunk, I taught myself some more. I took the time to study Splunk deeper beyond what was offered in the course. I wanted to understand the tool because I was reading about it and everyone was mentioning Splunk. It's like everyone was talking about Splunk. I didn't know about Splunk until I saw it in the course. But so they were using it, we were still using it. So they opened Splunk and showed me, okay, so go to the late term tickets. And then the other thing also that I need to emphasize, we need to study a little bit about Active Directory. It's something very simple, you can do it in 2 weeks, but we need to know Active Directory. They kind of like, there are certain things that they will not mention in the job description, and they kind of like assume you know it. And then you get there, you're surprised. They expect you to know Active Directory, but you have no idea what it is, or you just know the basics. I had the basics about Active Directory. I wasn't fully comfortable using the tool, but I had to learn on the job. So they opened Splunk, it showed me the late term tickets, and now to reconcile them, I had to use Active Directory. So I had to learn Active Directory right there and then. I pulled off my phone in my cubicle, went onto Active Directory, and then started kind of like going through the steps. It was quite easy for me, but I wish I had known Active Directory prior to. That's the only downside that I kind of like encountered on day one. But the team was very, very very welcoming and very helpful. I was sitting right across my colleague, and I would just ask her, because my boss told me, if you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask, because if you don't ask, we won't know what you don't know. So that kind of like allayed my fears, and I wasn't afraid of asking what I didn't know, because no one knows everything. Because I could see them also asking each other about certain things and processes and procedures. So that helped a lot, and I wasn't afraid of asking, and the rest is gold. The rest is just history. There's so many tools. There are so many tools that this company is using. It's too much.
And somebody wanted to know if you are working in the same state you live in, or you are working in a different state. And are you doing remote, or you are going to the job site?
So I'm working in the same state that I stay in. Incidentally, the company headquarters are like 35 minutes away from where I stay, but I've been to office twice. So I work from home. I work from home. Majority of the team is local, but we have teams in UK, and we have teams like our incident response manager is in UK, is in Manchester, and our cybersecurity engineer, chief engineer, is also in UK, Manchester. We have a colleague in San Diego. So most of us are working remote. We only go into office if maybe the CISO is showing up and he wants an in-person kind of like meeting. But my boss said everyone can keep working from home as long as you do your job. That's all that matters to them.
All right. So now you are in the job. First day, you've taken us through kind of. Now we want to know your typical day and your typical week, right? So when you wake up in the day, like do you get like a schedule from somebody, or you make your own schedule? I mean, like how is your day like? How do you plan out your day, your week?
So the typical day, I'll take it through a typical day, week, month, a little bit. I'll try to stretch it out and break it down. So wake up in the morning, sign in at 9. It's not like you have to really clock in at 9. You know, you can submit your stab at the end of the week. No one is really over your shoulder to see, have you signed in, have you logged in, you know, you need to log out for lunch. No. So you open your machines and straight away go to emails, and also you start working on any assigned tickets. So there are different there is a platform called ServiceNow. It's linked to another platform that automatically sends out the tickets. So you can find that you have different tickets under the SOC, under the security operations, you know, center, or under security operations. And there's so many tickets. So whoever gets in there, if you see there are 5 tickets, you can grab 2. If you find there are 20, you can just grab 10, you know, kind of like leave the others for the other people to come and work on them. It's not like, Isaac, you should work on these, or Derek, you should work on these. You find tickets there, work on them. If you find any challenges, then reach out. So you have the ticketing system open if you see any open tickets, and then also you open. I basically don't close my tabs. I have about 20 tabs open at any single moment, and I don't close them. So you just keep clicking on any tab to see the different tabs. I'll go through the different software platforms and the tabs that I'm talking about. So you monitor them to see if there are any tickets in those different dashboards, any alerts that were fired off maybe overnight. The beauty of this, when we close the day over in on the East Coast, the people in England are waking up, so they take over. And then we have teams in Asia. So it's kind of like the SOC is alive all the time. There is someone working on, there is someone alert, at least, if I may say. So every day we have the daily stand-up that is for our team, the security team. Daily we have to meet. It's just a stand-up, 15 minutes tops. Talk about any issues that they might say, Isaac, what are you working on? Like, hey, I'm working on this. We have some deprecated servers that I have to take offline and delete. They're like, okay, do you have any challenges? Do you need any help? They're like, no, I'm all right with all this. Okay, next one. You know, it's just a stand-up, 15 minutes tops, 5 minutes. Everyone talks about what they're working on, where they need help, whether they are collaborating with any other department, whether they need any issues escalated, and that's it. That happens every day. And then also weekly we have the security operations team meeting. Now that is a little bigger. Security operations, we bring in the networking guys. We bring them in on a weekly basis, And also on a weekly basis, also, we have another team that we meet up with, the vulnerability team meeting. That is also on a weekly basis. Now, why we have all these different meetings and the different teams, this company is quite big and it has a global footprint. As I mentioned, we have operations in China, in Russia, in UK, different in Europe, basically, and a few countries in Middle East and Africa as well. And so it has gone through a huge process of mergers and acquisitions. They've bought off so many different competing companies. It's now one huge global company. So the biggest challenge has been integrating their systems into our systems. So those are the projects that we are currently tasked with doing, integrating all the other different companies' systems into our systems. What were their, what was their security posture? What were they focusing on more? Or maybe they were a little bit laxed compared to us, and maybe in their policies, our policies are firing off so many alerts, and you get to see, these are from MobiDia, that is one of the acquisitions in UK. So you need to kind of like go in there and fine tune the signatures and stuff like that. So it's quite busy. It keeps us really busy, but those are the different things that we do, and also going through the different analysis. I mean, we are cybersecurity analysts, so the whole job is about analyzing the different logs, firewall logs, URL analysis. I didn't know that was a thing. Vulnerability logs, and also Active Directory for anyone who has been laid off. And we have to go in there and see whether there is any suspicious activity in Okta and also Active Directory. So that's why I say we need to, for anyone out there, anyone in the field, anyone who plans to come into the field, you can take a look at Active Directory. It will pay off for you.
All right. So from what I gathered, and just to reiterate what you just said, nobody is going to tell you what to do on a daily basis. You have to come up with your own tags for the day. So in your case, you go to like your ticketing system. So just briefly explain a little bit to us, for anybody who doesn't know what ticketing is, or like a ticket is, what is a ticket and what ticketing system do you use?
So we use a ticketing system called ServiceNow. And that is another platform that two jobs asked me about. Do you have knowledge about ServiceNow? Good thing I had used ServiceNow in my previous job, so I had knowledge about ServiceNow. So ServiceNow is a ticketing system whereby, let's say, Dr. Adu, you're working at your job, you're a claims processor, and maybe you cannot get through to a certain server, let's say the state server, yet you need to upload certain documents to the state for approval or something. But for some reason, this website is refusing to work for you this morning, and you have no idea what to do. So what you do, you put in a self-made ticket to IT. That's what we do in the previous job. You put in a ticket to IT, you explain your issue, what you're trying to do, the wall that you're hitting, why you can't. You basically try to explain to them the situation, and then the system will automatically send a ticket to the right department, in this case, information security. So they receive the ticket, read through it, they're like, oh, it's Dr. Adu in claims department. He cannot access this particular website to upload these files that are needed for processing. Okay, let's see what the problem is. So maybe what you can do is to remote desktop into their system to see exactly what the error is if they have not explained it pretty well. But if they've explained it well, and maybe what you have to do is to actually go into this website, to go to this to go to another platform. Now there is another platform we have called Netscope, and maybe all you have to do is to whitelist this particular website so that it goes through, or maybe you have to update their digital certificate, and maybe that was the issue. But I do in claims won't know about digital certificates and all that. All he wants is for his system to work. So you go ahead and do that, then shoot them a quick message and be like, hey, try it out again. Is it working? Yep, it's working. All right. You're like, all right, that's another ticket in the box. You know, you're done with that. But different tickets come through with various levels of urgency. Because as I said, we have a global footprint. We get so many alerts fired from the Beijing the Beijing departments, because in China, as you well know, they don't use there is so much software, the Western software that they don't use, and they use their own. And unfortunately, most of their software, Baidu, Weibo, and all that, they're kind of like blacklisted on this other side of the Atlantic. So we find ourselves that we have to continuously go into whitelist websites. They're like, hey, we need this one. It's like their version of Zoom. We really need this one to conduct our meetings. It's not going through. We need it right now. So you have to go in there. First of all, do URL analysis to see whether it's not carrying any malware, you know, it's a true site. And then you go ahead and whitelist it, because you don't want to whitelist something that has a payload embedded in it, you know, so it could be on you, you know, you're breaking stuff. But there are so many bits and pieces that come together, and you really appreciate the beauty of cybersecurity. It's lovely. As I mentioned, there's so many platforms, but I think it's a good thing to be hit with so much, because then you get to learn so much. It makes you a well-rounded employee. Even in your next job, you'll be very confident in, you know, in mentioning that I know how to use this, I know how to use this, and mention a certain tool. It's not alien to you. You've heard about it. You might not know exactly how it works, but you've definitely heard about it and you know what it does. So always have continuous hunger for knowledge. That's what I tell myself and anyone who cares to listen to what I have to say. So since you guys are here, I might as well tell you, always have continuous hunger for knowledge.
All right, Isaac. So we have some questions in here. First one is if you say you work on issues, how do you solve those issues? So like the ticketing, like there was a problem, or you know, I think you kind of answered some of it, but if you want to specifically address, if you can give us like an example of like a ticket or an issue that you encounter and then grab from the ticketing system, and then how do you solve it?
Okay, I'll give an example of there is a platform, I think it's called Tenant. It's the equivalent of Teams, Microsoft Teams or Zoom, like what we're using right now in China. And we had it, so we have this, I want to be so simple in explaining this. So there is this platform called Netscope. What it is, it's so many things. It's like an umbrella of many things. It helps with it's a cloud native software agent that you can get installed on your machine. We actually in cybersecurity, we install it remotely on all company machines, and no one can remove it. Only us can remove it. Now, what this particular agent does, it does malware analysis. It's a web proxy. It's a CASB, you know, cloud access security broker. Mm-hmm. It's an API. It's a DLP. It's a SWIG. That is it's a secure web gateway basically. So what it does, if someone tries to go to, let's say, gambling.com on a company computer, that website won't open. It won't happen. Why? Because we wrote a policy in this particular agent that says anyone who searches for guns, bombs, maybe gambling and all that, we set a policy for that agent to block it. Among all these other things, it senses any malicious software trying to be installed, any malicious URLs trying to be visited, or any sites. So in this case, someone in China was trying to download Tenant, which is their version of Zoom, as I said, and this agent blocked it. So they reached out to us. They're like, hey, we need to have this particular software working in China. We're like, but hey, let's take a look at it first. You don't tell us what you need. We tell you whether it passes the smell test. Is it a legitimate software? Does it mean no harm? That's the whole point. Does it mean no harm? Because I mean, it's not a secret. The Chinese are quite good at hacking Western companies. So it's one of the hardest hurdles that anyone has to jump if they have to deal with any manufacturing companies in China. But anyway, long story short, so we look up this particular software called Tenant. We had to go into Netscope. And then after analyzing it and realizing that it's actually good to go, what we do is to whitelist it so that the system does not catch it the next time someone tries to access it. So if someone tries to download it or access it in a web browser, it would open normally like any other website like Google or whatever. But if we find out that actually it's one of the malicious softwares reported out there, then we still enforce the rule and unfortunately tell them we cannot let you download this particular software because it's not safe. Depending on the policy that you actually write in and embed it in this particular agent. There are different policies and you can go in there and whitelist, blacklist, or it's a live list. You can take off and add on as many as possible.
Okay. Thank you for that, Isaac. And somebody also wanted to know, I think it was Vicky, like what is the pay like? And I want you to do like a contrast when you used to work in healthcare and now, if you don't want to give us like specific figures, you can give us by like how many X's are you receiving now? So Sheila says she's receiving more than twice what she used to make. Like, how is the money like?
It is good. It is good, honestly. Because here's the thing. I was working in the insurance company. Yes, I love the idea of walking into a huge building, clocking in, typical 9 to 5, easy, chill, But at the end of the day, the paycheck wasn't that good. And what I thought was job security also wasn't there because I lost the job anyway. So that goes to show you that we get blinded by the little that we have and we fear the unknown, what is out there. So definitely, it's like I'm preaching to the converted because everyone on here has kind of like discovered what they want to get into cybersecurity. So I should be telling this to other people who have not yet converted, but I'll still reiterate and mention it. You chose the right field. Definitely no complaints in regards to the pay. I'll say, yeah, 2.5 more, 2 times.
Twice what you used to receive. Okay.
Yes, and I from the way I see things and the way cybersecurity as a field is evolving and expanding, things are only going to get better. That's my belief. Things are only going to get better.
Well, and Isaac, I think we didn't talk about your job title. So what is your current job title now? I mean, like, what is your title?
Oh, security analyst.
Okay.
Yeah, security analyst. We are all security analysts apart from the incident response manager that I mentioned and the cybersecurity engineer and the information security manager, who is the overall in our team.
Okay. And
Before you
how
break
many are
out
you
to-
in a team?
We're about 9.
9. Okay.
Yeah, it's quite a small team for the tasks currently, because as I mentioned, the company has gone through a lot of expansion. They've gone through so much mergers and acquisitions. They have acquired so many competitors, but the SOC team has remained the same size. So you can imagine there is too much coming on, hitting the same small team. And actually, my manager today was mentioning that he has to present to the higher ups next week. And we were actually, this brings me to another thing that I'm going to mention that we have to do on a monthly basis. He has to present them metrics, something to prove to them the need for either more resources in terms of manpower or software tools, more tools. So the other thing that we do on a monthly basis, we do the metrics for the higher ups, because the higher ups, that's the language that they understand, the language of numbers. So you show them how many tickets you work in a month, how many people you are, how long it takes you to work on different tickets. So they equate that and calculate it into money. Like if it takes Isaac, one analyst, 10 minutes to work one ticket, how many tickets does he work to work a day? How many minutes are those? What other work is put on hold while he is dealing with this number of tickets? You know, so he's trying to present to them the need for more resources. And now with the metrics call, we do that as a team. All of us get on a call and we start going through. So we have a playbook. Is it a playbook or no,
SOP.
it's SOP, exactly. We have an SOP that we follow. It's an in-house document, of course, for your eyes only and all that kind of stuff that they say that we follow. And we go through all these different platforms to see what they caught, what they didn't catch, because different platforms catch different things. Maybe something catches this and another platform misses out on that. So we get all these metrics and put them in a CSV, in an Excel file, and make it more presentable. Something very simple for the higher ups to understand. Yeah, the previous 2 guests mentioned Excel. Yeah, Excel is a good thing to know. Excel is definitely a good thing to know, because most of these reports from these different platforms, their export format is either PDF or CSV format, which is in Excel. And you need to be able to manipulate that data and sort it according to, you know, how many vulnerabilities by Windows machines, you know, sort that, give them that number. How many machines do we have operating iOS? Be able to give them a number. How many machines do we have that have both Microsoft Office and iOS, but both of them have maybe this particular antivirus? Be able to sort and give them that number in real time. So Excel comes in real handy.
All right. So now we will open the floor for everybody to ask their questions. So first, Eric has his virtual hand up. So we're going to give the floor to Eric. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Adu. Asante sana Dugua for your presentation. So my question is, I'm trying to understand better about when you were explaining ServiceNow, when you are getting a ticket. I'm going to give you an example, so probably you can walk me through that example. So if I'm one of your users or one of your employee of the company, and I'm trying to access to one URL, because you put in place one URL filtering, and whatever I'm trying to access is blocked. So if we open a ticket, is it coming to you first, or it goes to the IT, or it goes to the network team? Just walk me through like step by step. I'm trying to understand exactly if are you the one who get that request first, or if you get it because it was escalated. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eric. So what happens? Most of these systems are automated. So with the service now, if you're putting in your ticket, there will be a drop-down section where you want to have your ticket directed towards. Is it facilities management? Maybe there is a door to the closet that is broken and you want them to take care of it, then you send it that way. Is it a plumbing issue? You know, so maybe there is something wrong with the bathroom, you know, system or whatever. So with this one, you definitely have a section where you can select a drop-down arrow, and then the system will direct that particular ticket to that team. And as I said, most of all of our tickets come through from what in the system is listed as SOC.
Yes, I understand. So I'm trying to understand, are you the one who is going to enable that or bypass that rule? Or I'm trying to understand
okay.
Yeah, that was my question.
Okay, this particular website that you're trying to access, who puts in the rule to block that particular website that you want to access?
Correct. Yes.
All right, I get you. So now that one actually starts with the different. Now there is a different platform called Netscope, the cloud native agent that I talked about. So this one is installed on all corporate machines. If we only get to install it if some machine is new, and then we have to install it. But most of the machines actually have that agent running in the background. You don't get to see it in operation. It's something that does its magic in the background. So you go and type in your URL, you want to search about this particular thing, and then that agent in the background blocks it. Now what happens is we set up these different policies when we install the agent, when we configure the agent. So there are different policies that you can go in and manipulate as the cybersecurity analyst. Only we have access to that. So if you call us, if you put in a ServiceNow ticket because you have been blocked on the other URL, so that's when you come to ServiceNow and be like, hey, Isaac, I'm trying to access www.eric.com, but it's not letting me through. It's a website that we need in our, in our day-to-day execution of our duties, but it's not going through. It's blocking me. Then maybe we need to go into this agent and whitelist eric.com because we have proved that eric.com is needed for the HR department to actually maybe submit work authorizations to DHS to verify that they work. So we go in and whitelist it so that you can be able to use the website again. I don't know whether I answered your question, Eric.
So if I understand correctly, is your team who goes into the whitelisting and then you enroll, and not the systems or network team, correct?
Correct. That falls on the cybersecurity team.
Okay, perfect. Now this brings me to my second question about, you were talking about AD, Active Directory. So what do you do as a part of InfoSec? What is your role for dealing with AD?
Okay, good question. So let's say, let me give a hypothetical, not a hypothetical, let me give an example that I worked on today. 2 examples. So the first one, the ticket came through, these different tickets now coming through ServiceNow. Now these tickets from ServiceNow come from compliance or HR. So HR sends through a ticket that, hey, so-and-so is no longer with the company. their last day of work was, let's say, let me give an example of May 1st was their last day of work. So please check for any unusual activity on the different platforms. Now this is where AD comes in. So we go to Active Directory, we search this particular person, and then we get their username, because of course with Active Directory, and if you have admin access, you can definitely activate and deactivate and delete accounts and reset passwords and all that. By the way, all that happens in AD. You can do that. If you call the help desk, I've forgotten my password, I need it to be reset. You can do all that in AD. So we go into AD, we get their username, and then we go into Splunk or QRadar, QRadar, because right now we're using both of them. And then you check. Now Splunk and QRadar have, let me first talk about Splunk. Splunk is connected with another sign-on company called Okta.
Can you please spell that?
Hello?
Can you please spell that? Sorry.
Splunk or Okta?
Both, slowly, please.
Okay, Splunk is SPLUNK. Splunk. I'll put it in the chat.
Yes, thank you so much.
And then the other one, Okta. So Okta is for single sign-on. I'll put it in the chat. Oh, it turned it to Okta, not okay. Yeah, Okta. So single sign-on. If you have an Okta account, like I said, we have different platforms. You don't have to put in your password all the time. If you have an Okta account, it just verifies you, and then through MFA, and then you just automatically it logs you in. So Splunk is connected with Okta. So from AD, you get the user details, you input them in Splunk, you put in the date that they're supposed to have last worked, May 1st. And then it brings you kind of like the log history of this person. When did they log in? What time did they log in? And what was the response code? If it's a 4675, 4625, that's a kind of like a failed login. 4624, that's maybe unaccepted login. There are different codes, but you get to see, did this person try to log in after their last day of work? So if someone last worked on May 1st and you're seeing on May 30th, they are trying to log in, but the system actually blocked them, then that is cause for alarm, because this person is no longer with the company, but maybe they are still trying to get into the company network. Why? So you escalate that and send it to compliance. It's up to them to take a further look into that. But at least you present them with the tools and the proof that, hey, Mr. So-and-so last worked on May 1st, but here is the proof. On May 30th, they tried multiple times to log into their account. They tried to access company resources. So you do, that's how you use AD in conjunction with Splunk. Now, right now we are using QRadar, which still connects with Okta, and it gives you the Windows login details for any user.
Can you spell the QRadar as well, please?
Okay, let me put all this information in the chat. QRadar.
So for everybody, I'll have Isaac give us like a list of all the tools he's using at work now, and then we're just gonna send it out with the replay, right? So if you're on the list for the replay, you're gonna receive that list as well. So if Eric is done, we will go to
not yet. Sorry.
He still has his hand up.
Hey, Mr. Eric, there are like 36 people on this call. You're not going to take all the time to take all the questions. You could reach out to
wait.
Mr. Isaac personally to kind of discuss personally. You understand?
So please
Questions.
hold on. With all due respect, I'm running this, right? So I was gonna give you the floor I was gonna, have Eric come back with his question. So please don't get into, other people's face. With all due respect, I'm running this, okay? So Eric, you're gonna hold on and then have Amafidon ask his question, and then we're gonna move on. Okay.
Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. And I got read just two questions for Mr. Isaac. You've done a very great presentation, and my question basically is, you say when you're talking about the tools that you use on a daily basis, you say, did you actually know how to use these tools while you were doing the hands-on exercise? I mean, you already know how to use these tools before the interview. You like practice them, use them on a daily basis before you wait for the interview.
Yeah, I can definitely answer that. So with some of them, with some of the tools, I knew how to use them, like Splunk. Splunk is part of the tools that Dr. Adu actually touched on in the hands-on section of the course. And as he mentioned, so in the hands-on section of the course, he did not touch on QRadar. But I'll tell you one thing, as he mentioned, if you know how to drive a Corolla and they give you a Mercedes, you might find a little bit of a difference in the operation of the machine, but ultimately it drives like a Corolla. Why am I saying that? Like if the Corolla, you have to engage the gears like that, and for the Mercedes, maybe you just turn a knob,
Yeah.
But ultimately the end goal is the same. The vehicle is going to move from point A to point B. So if you have the knowledge of Splunk, you can definitely, it's very easy to flow into another tool, because most of these tools do almost the same things broadly, but it depends on the user case, depends on the user case, and also how you have your license integrated to have all these different bells and whistles added in. But don't be intimidated by the different tools that I'll be mentioning offhand, because I honestly didn't know how to use all of them. But right now, I can say I'm ably comfortable using them. Why? Because I had that foundation of using those that were presented in the course.
Okay, excellent. The last question. You say during the course of the interview, was there ever like uh, a live scenario that you were asked to walk them through in the interview, like from point A to point B, when you want to implement a particular function?
Oh yes, that's one thing I didn't mention at the beginning. So they asked me, tell us a scenario where you had to introduce something new and maybe management wasn't all up for it, but they gave you a chance to implement it and see where it leads. So I told them, there was a little bit of embellishing, of course, but I told them that at my previous job, I introduced the concept of bring your own device,
Okay.
and they were a little hesitant, and then they wanted to know more. How did this actually happen? Because mobile devices are another huge attack vector,
Yeah.
that malicious people can take advantage of.
Yeah.
With these mobile phones, you can simply put a USB and plug it into the enterprise computer, and that's it. If there is any malicious code, that's it. You just fed it into the enterprise network. But now that helped me to talk about the different MDMs, the mobile device management software. And actually, Dr. Adu mentioned it also in the course. One of the hands-on tools that he touched on had the MDM aspect to it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Isaac. You're a star, man. That's all for now.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I think if anybody has any question, they can bring it up. Eric, I know you have like 5 more questions, so you can ask one, and then we open the floor again to everybody. And then we will thank Isaac, and we will let Kwame also talk about his experience this week. Okay, so we are about to wrap up. I think we have like almost 12 minutes to go.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Adu. Actually, my last question, I wanted, because Isaac mentioned about they are the ones who whitelist whatever was blacklisted. So now, Isaac, do you have to run a report that it could be monthly or weekly or every quarter based on all those logs you are getting?
Yes, yes, Eric. I mentioned one of the things that we have to do as the cybersecurity team on a monthly basis is to present the metrics report. So the metric report, actually the metrics report captures all these incidences and many, many more. It's a huge undertaking coming up with the different metrics for these different platforms, because the higher ups want to see value for money. Most of these platforms are not cheap. So they want to see, basically they want justification for having Splunk. Why do we have Splunk and have QRadar when they can do the same thing? You know, a manager might question something like that, or someone in accounts will question something like that. But because they lack the technical aspect of knowing why you need these 2 different tools that might seem to be doing the same thing, but actually they complement each other. Maybe one catches something that the other cannot catch, you know? So we come up with all these with these different metrics, and also that agent that I mentioned, Netscope. Netscope is a very powerful tool. I'll keep talking about it. So it's our secure web gateway, and one of the metrics that we can actually do, we can go in there and see, okay, this is Eric.
Can you write that in the chat, the Netscope? Can you write it in the chat, please?
Yeah, absolutely. But as Dr. Adu said, I'll send him a list of all these. Let's go. There we go. Of all these different platforms and what they do. I can give you a little rundown about each and what they do later on. Let me first answer Eric's question. So Eric, we can go into your account and see, okay, what we have is actually like we can have a list of the top 20 defaulters for a week. And then we see, okay, Eric tops them all. What did he try to access this week? We're like, oh, okay, Eric tried to access a gun store. You know, he tried to access a gambling site and that was blocked. What else did Eric try to do? We've had cases of people in Netherlands, a manager who tried to download a video game on a corporate machine, and the system blocked. So we set up these different policies in different aspects. You can set it to alert, so that it tells you Eric tried to do this, or Eric has tried to do this, or has done this. And then we can set it to alert and block. Eric tried to download this video game, but we blocked it. And then, you know, we get all that information of what every person is doing. Please, people, warning, word of caution, do not do anything on a corporate machine that you don't want to be found out, because they know they will find out. Don't search about anything remotely embarrassing on any corporate machine, because they will definitely find out. It's just a matter of time when they bring it out to you and they confront you with the truth, and you look a fool when you are actually saying that you didn't do it. But as they say, numbers don't lie. So, but you know, it's so crazy. You won't believe the kind of stuff that we catch. People try to search for porn on company machines on company time. You know, we catch all this. So this is a very great tool, but just a word of warning to anyone. Just don't do anything on a corporate machine that is not work related, period. We see it all.
All right.
So we have a list. We have a list of biggest offenders, and then if they are, so what we do, we reach out to them and tell them, hey, you're not supposed to be doing this. Hey, we told you, you're not supposed to be doing this. If they keep doing it, then we reach out to their immediate supervisor and be like, hey, maybe you need to have a talk with so and so. Why? Because they keep doing this and this. It might earn them their job. So we try to give them fair warning before pulling the plug on them.
So Isaac, based on what you just said, I think something that came to mind. What do you guys do for security awareness training?
So if we have those repeat offenders, we definitely have to sign them up for security awareness training over again, like they did on onboarding during the onboarding process. And also incidentally, when I had just joined the company, the security awareness training team sent out an email, and they warned us as security analysts, our department, that there's going to be a phishing campaign going on, with all this Ukraine stuff going on. They were like, hey, buy these t-shirts and support the war in Ukraine, like support the Ukrainians in the war against, Russia. And there was malicious code embedded in the link that we sent out. And so some people fell for it. Actually, most people fell for it, because they have this thing of, oh, Ukraine, let me support, click, click, click. So we see all these clicks, everything is documented, and we get the reports, and we're like, oh, okay, this is the task that we have to do. We have to reinforce security awareness to all these people.
Okay, so what tool do you guys use for your phishing campaign?
I honestly don't know what they use, because that's a different, as I said, it's the training department, but I suspect they use Barracuda.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many tools out there for the same purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for everybody on here, when Isaac started, he wasn't, talking like this. So don't get scared or overwhelmed about, okay, how can I? Now Isaac is a pro, so he can, talk and throw all these terminologies out there and tools. But
no, I'm not a pro.
baby steps.
Not yet a pro.
Like baby steps, right? And that is what we try to give you here at Eretmis. So Isaac, we appreciate your time. We can talk all day, but we might probably bring you back some other time to talk more. Next week, we're going to have Kenny on here. Kenny is also one of our students. He started working not too long ago, just like Isaac. How long have you been working now, Isaac?
It's coming to 2 months.
Okay. So that's great. And
can I say just one more thing before?
Yeah, go ahead.
So among the other things that you get to see or you get to experience in this particular job, and I believe maybe different companies also that have a huge footprint, we have vendor calls where they have to do what we call the POC, proof of concept. So they basically try to market their different tools to us so that we can buy them. They're like, hey, you're using Splunk, but hey, guess what? We have this new product, whatever, give it a name. And I think it matches up better, compared to Splunk. We're like, really? They're like, yeah, just give us, 1 hour with your team and we'll prove it to you. So we give them time. So last week we had a proof of concept meeting with the company. It's called Sevco. It's a new company, but they have their tool is not competing with any other on the market, which is the beauty about it. And it's such a good tool. It's it's an asset management kind of like platform. Sevco, asset intelligence platform. That's the word. So what this company does, they bring together everything, all your assets, hardware and software. And in software, I mean the virtualized servers, because we have so many virtual servers. We spin them up, use them for something, and then just duplicate them, take them out of commission. But so this tool brings together all your assets in one thing. It's like a CMDB, like a configuration management database. It shows you have 10,000 computers, but your previous system was showing you that you have maybe 9,500. So what are these other 500? Do you know them? Are they attackers, living off the land, as they say? Or did you simply forget about them? They are legacy machines that you need to to take out of commission. So they gave us a proof of concept last week. We gave them our IPs, we gave them our list. They are set, there is a delicate dance that you go through letting them into your system. And they presented to us these magnificent numbers. Actually, I wrote it down. It turns out this particular company that I'm working for, we have 16,816 assets. So you can imagine managing 16,000 plus computers, hardware and software. That is a lot. It's quite a lot. So much can go wrong. So many can break down. But all these different tools, as I wrap up, kind of like help you manage your assets, knowing what is where, what its status is, and how to deal with it. And the beauty about automation, and you can take a server offline when you're seated at home. You can reboot it and start it up again if it's acting funny, and someone is all set. You just SSH into it. That's it.
What is the name of that tool?
The tool are Sevco, SEVCO. Let me put it in the chat. Sevco. It's actually a new company because they gave us their Sevco. They gave us their rundown. They're based in Austin. I think company started in 2012.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an asset intelligence platform. It's quite interesting. It's quite interesting.
All right, Isaac. We appreciate your time. For anybody who is in your shoes, a couple of months ago, you were a beginner, trying to find out which training for cybersecurity will be good for you to get to where you are right now. We are glad to see you grow, and
Thank you.
we frankly believe the sky is even not a limit for you, and from how far you've come, you are only your own limit, right? As to how far you want to go and how far you can earn, and how far you can get in cybersecurity. So what are going to be your what are your last words for anybody and everybody who is kind of on the fence? Should I get into this? Can I do cybersecurity? What kind of training do I need? Is it really possible from coming from a different industry to get into this industry with no experience? What is going to be your last words to everybody?
Okay. Simple. For anyone who is on the fence, if cybersecurity is on this side and you're on this side, you better fall over into cybersecurity, because here's what I'll say about that. There are many people who out there will tell you, okay, we are immigrants, we are new in this country, go into this particular field, go into nursing, But when you look at the amount of time and money that you have to invest into something like nursing, no offense to nursing, it's a good field, it's great, it's a noble field, actually, saving lives. But if your passion is not in nursing and it's in cybersecurity, then definitely go for it. Don't go for something that someone is telling you is good, but it's not your passion. Because if you do something without love and passion, you're kidding yourself. And another thing, look at the starting salaries, entry level for the different jobs out there, and be honest to yourself. Cybersecurity comes up on top. When you tell someone that I took this course 4 months and Maybe they tell you, I'm looking at jobs with a starting salary of 45 an hour, 50 contract, 55, you know, like, what? Really? Is that even true? It is definitely true. You have all seen the estimates on the different platforms. It is happening. It is true. One last word for anyone who has not yet gotten that job, and you're done with the exam and you're pounding the street. Just keep going. Just keep going. Trust me, I pounded the street for 6 months. 6 months after my exam, that's when I got the job. I did not give up. Do not give up. Do not give up. Just use the time when you're looking for a job to better yourself. Learn more about, you can, what I did actually, after even I passed my exam, I would be out on the road driving and I was playing Dr. Adu's lectures over again. Just kind of like revision. You know, IT, cybersecurity, information technology is something that you can easily forget and become rusty if you do not keep fine-tuning your skills, because it's an ever-evolving field. It keeps changing. The things that we're trying to defend against, the people that we're trying to defend against are always thinking of where to get in. So just a word of, you know, my wife just said, you snooze, you lose. That's it. That's it. You snooze, you lose. So just keep learning, learn and learn. There is so much out there that you can learn. Trust me. Every day you should be a student of life.
All right.
And don't give up.
All right. We appreciate your time, Isaac. Like I said, we're a big family. We're probably going to bring Isaac back again to talk more on tools and stuff like that. But we have good news. So last week it was Noah. Noah got a job. He's probably starting, I think, next week. And this week's good news is Kwame. For everybody who was on here who was asking, did Sheila's husband get a job? Because he was the one who actually started the course, and then Sheila overtook him and got a job before him. Kwame finally got a job this week. He signed his contract. And he's making how much? I'm going to make him talk himself. Where is Kwame?
Hello, Prof.
Yeah, and everybody can congratulate Kwame. But Kwame, walk us through. So you signed your contract already. How, did it, how did it, all, come together for you?
If I talk about how it's just about a job, then it's not fair. Let me talk about where I get my inspiration from. I was in a previous class that somebody just taught us about FedRAM and all that, and I thought I knew what I was doing. So for all these while, I was not really going through what Dr. Doing materials was. I could just listen to a bit and be like, oh, I know this one. Oh, this one, don't worry, I got this. I can talk about it. So that was the whole thing. But then I get an opportunity to say, go for an interview. Then I go, or before starting the interview, I talked to Dr. Do. After my interview with him, he would tell me, Kwame, you're giving me BS. All the time, BS. So at the point in time, I was like, you know what, let me put away what I think I know and just study what Dr. Du is saying so that I also disprove his BS. So I started learning, taking the information and then learning it. And then on LinkedIn, I had somebody send me email, say, hey, oh, we saw your resume and it looks like a perfect match for our position. So do you mind going to our website and then apply? So I did all that. And then they called me again that the person, the head of IT for the company wanted to talk to me on phone. So he called me, we spoke. He asked a couple of questions. He asked me, what's my experience when we talk about incident response? like what my understanding of it. I was able to talk to it. He asked me a couple of questions that I was able to answer to them. And then I had another interview. No, it was an interview, but it was in person. We started an interview at a restaurant down here at 8 in the morning. And then we finished the interview at 10:45. So it was just one-on-one in person. He asked me this over a coffee. He asked me this, and I told him that. He asked me that. What is you? So we did that, and I still had the confidence because I knew what Dr. Adu gave me was on point. So I was able to speak. So I went home, and then about 2 hours later, they called me again that the team also want to meet me on live video of about 6 people. So I hop on the Zoom video with them. And then we also talk for like almost about 30 minutes. And all the questions that they asked me, I was able to express myself and even giving examples. Dr. Adu, number one trick that he showed me that if they ask you the question and is in your arena, you can talk more and even give examples so that they wouldn't come back to be asking you those questions. So I took that advice. And then if they ask something that I know of, I'll give examples and then explain it. So that I use that to kill most of the time. And then the next day, no, the evening, the guy called me, the supervisor called me again that he wanted me to, how much am I going to take? And then I was like, oh, currently, they are giving me like 115. So I need a company that will like give me something better as I will stay where I am. And then he was like, oh, okay, well, we are not paying that much, but I will see what I can do. So the next morning, he sent me he contacted my cell phone number. He sent me a message like, hey, I've sent a letter to your inbox. Go check it. If it's something that you want to go, then sign it, and then we are in business. So I forwarded it to Dr. Adu, and then he looked through it and said, oh man, this is good. Just go ahead and sign it. So even I get more than the 115. But so my advice to this is that.
Okay, Kwame, so let me catch you here. So when you told them your current job, you are making 115, what are you really making at your current job?
Oh, Dr. Adu. So I'm making, so this is like 3 times of what I'm making currently.
Yep.
Yeah,
This
but you just wanted to bluff and let them know, hey, you are making more already, so they should up their game.
Yes.
That's what I said. If you don't ask.
So we did that, and then they sent me the paper, everything, and then I signed it, and then now they send me email that they are sending me my equipment that they're willing to set me up and all that, and then I can't wait to get going, and then also come and talk like Isaac has getting all the information and all the tools he's talking about to also just express my experience on the job. But what I would say is that when we started, we came from somewhere, right? And then we have it in our head, we can do it. We need the guidance, the directions, and somebody have to give you, say, okay, do this, and you can do it. With what Dr. Adu is giving to us, it's like we coming from our motherland, Africa. You come over here, somebody's telling you, oh, go do CNA, you make money. Go do warehousing, go do nursing. But we are fortunate to have somebody like him wasting his time, not saying wasting his time, but I don't know if it's from heaven for the love of God or whatever it is that he's devoted to help people like us and give us that. It is about time we stop this CNA thing and also hit the higher up. So my wife is making over 100. I am also making over 100. Count yourself how many people even if you're a medical doctor, will you be making over 200? So I will just ask all of you guys to just say thank you to Dr. Adu for the effort and the trust and with the word that he's willing to help all of us. But people on this platform, as Isaac said, once you are on this platform, that means that you have seen the light. But it's just the opportunity that you just go into the tunnel and then you go high to meet it. So don't give up. There's something over there. Just go and grab it. It's time. So get focused and then you get there too. Thank you guys so much.
All right. All right. Yeah, we appreciate you, Kwame. And for the longest, you know, I've just been dragging Kwame through the mud. He heard interview preps, Kwame would just be talking nonsense, frankly. But when he did this interview and he called me, I'm like, what did they ask you? What did you say? What did they ask you? What did you say? I knew he got the job because Kwame was really on point. And that showed that he put in the work this time, right? He really put in the work because some interviews, we will go over the like the job description and stuff. And then I'll tell, okay, Kwame, go read more about this, you know, because when you've gone through the course, you've gone through the training and things that I expect you to know in a job description, you don't know, I'll let you go do the research and come back to to me with it. Kwame will come back, you ask him, hey, Kwame, so what did you learn about like GDPR, PCI DSS? Well, I thought that wasn't important, so I didn't look at it. Right. And he's going to an interview the next day. Okay, Kwame, what about this? Like he's saying, he will just be talking just for talking, you know, and then I'll tell him, hey, Kwame, that is really BS, you know, go really look at it. But this time around, I mean, frankly, when I talked to him and I, got to know his answers and stuff, I knew in my head it was a done deal because he was right on the money, right? And that should, like, I told him, Kwame, you put in the effort now. He's like, yeah, I really took your, word and then went to work on it. So now he was, in the books, not just taking like the lessons and what he think he knows, but whatever he needs to work on, he really worked on and polished it. And that is the results, right? So Kwame is making almost 3 times what he's making now. He's not going to work as okay, Kwame. So what did you do before? Like, can you tell anybody like what you're like what you used to do?
I'm a jack of all trades. I do truck driving.
Warehousing.
I do quick turnaround jobs. Like, I'm using my body to work. I come home and I sit on the couch and I'm gone. For the first time this morning, I was able to just get up and take a shower and feel like a man, So, man, it's worth it.
All right, Kwame. Congratulations. Everybody can congratulate Kwame. We're going to end it here. For everybody who is new or people who've not really taken a look at the courses that we offer, I'm going to post it in here plus our email and stuff like that, right? So we really appreciate everybody's time. For next week, we're still going to be doing this. This is going to be ongoing. So please be on the lookout. If you don't receive the email, you should be on our email list. So everybody should be receiving updates and stuff. And the recording for this will also be posted on YouTube, and then we'll post the link. But if you've subscribed to our YouTube, you're just going to get it once we post it. I appreciate everybody's time. Congratulations, Kwame. Hopefully next week, somebody else is also, Cynthia is also going to come back with, her job. Okay, so now Cynthia is in the pipeline. Everybody be on the lookout. And then I have like a lot of, so Musa is also, one of them. I'm going to talk to Musa offline. There are some people on here who, for what reason, I don't know whatsoever, are not working yet, right? Cynthia is first in the list, okay? So I appreciate everybody's time. We will meet next week, God willing. And next week, we'll be launching the internship program. So it's going to be internship/workshop. So for our students, it's going to be an internship. For anybody who is not a student, it's going to be a workshop, right? So now we kind of want to narrow down the numbers. So if you are not a student and you want to be part of it, it's going to be a paid workshop. Right? I appreciate everybody's time. And the PCI DSS, the second class is starting 17th of this month. So if you're interested, reach out. Appreciate everybody's time. We will meet next week. Have a blessed weekend. And happy Mother's Day to all the mothers on here and all the ladies on here. We appreciate you. Have a great one.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Doctor. Thanks, everyone.